Hi everyone, it's Amy from Simplicity here. So together we'll teach you how to make S9136. This fun raglan sleeve dress has 3 views and works in lots of different fabrics. It's perfect for beginners and intermediate sewists. Let's get started.
To make this project you'll need a copy of Simplicity 9136 in either size 6 to 14 or 16 to 24. You'll also need 2.5 to 3 meters of fabric. I'm using an organic cotton from Spotlight that's 112 centimeters wide for view B. Then you'll need a 55 centimeter invisible zipper. There's an optional hook and eye, and you'll need a package of bias tape that's 13 millimeters wide in a complementary colour, plus matching thread. This project only requires a simple sewing kit with dressmaker scissors, fabric pins, tape measures, tailor chalk, your sewing machine, and an overlocker if you have one available.
This pattern works in lots of different fabrics, so you can let your creativity run wild.
We're making view A, so use the key to work out which pattern pieces you need to cut out. Certain pieces will also benefit from having the edges finished with either a zigzag stitch or an overlocker. I've highlighted them here and will refer to them throughout the video. Cutting layouts cover multiple fabric widths and different pattern sizes to ensure the most efficient lay plan possible. You may notice that view A has the skirt cut on the crosswise grain to allow the placement of stripes that you see on the pattern envelope. You can choose whether to use the layout for view A or view B depending on your fabric print. Once you've cut out all your pattern pieces and transferred your markings, step 1 is to stay stitch the neckline 6 millimeters from the raw edge.
To create the darts in the bodice front, fold the fabric right sides together along the centre of the dart, and then use pins to make sure the 2 lines sit perfectly on top of each other and secure the layers. Sew from the base to the tip, ensuring your last few stitches are very close to the folded edge. Then once that's done, you can press the dart down and finish the raw edge of the side seam. Once both darts are sewn, take your back bodice pieces and pin them on top, right sides together, matching the side seams. You can see I've finished the edges of the side seam and the centre back. Then sew both side seams on the machine. Next onto the sleeves. For view A, we've got a small dart to make in the head of the sleeve. So just as with our bodice, we're placing right sides together, matching the lines and using the pins to secure. When that's done, you can also go ahead and pin the side seam of the sleeve. You'll already have finished those raw edges, and then it will just take a couple of pins to hold together. Once you've sewn the sleeve side seam and the dart, you can go ahead and make a small hem on the bottom of each sleeve. Press over 1.5 centimeters and then press the raw edge over 6 millimeters, then double fold what you've just pressed and top stitch close to the folded edge. Now we're ready to insert our sleeves into our bodice. So I've got my bodice right side down and my sleeve right side up, and I've checked the notches. So the double notch is matching with the double notch on the back bodice. Then I'm going to pin the seam lines so they meet and pin the top edges, and then I can pin everywhere in between, matching the raw edges. Raglan sleeves are actually quite beginner friendly because they give you a bit more room to manoeuvre. You're not working in a circle, you're working in a sort of U shape. So I recommend them. So here we go, we're pinning all the way around, and then we're going to repeat for the other side, matching the raw edges, matching the notches, and getting ready to sew. When that's done, you'll take it over to your machine and you'll sew the U shape with the seam allowance of 1.5 centimeters. Then our instructions say to sew it again a few millimeters away before trimming back the seam allowance and finishing the raw edge. If you have an overlocker, you can do this all in one action. To make the pocket, press under the top edge by 6 millimeters, then press along the fold line. Take note of where the notch is because we're not doing anything with that side of the pocket. Turn the pocket to the front and then fold back along the fold line so the fabric is right sides together. Pin along the short edge of the unnotched side. This is so we can create a short facing for the pocket. Once you've got that pinned, you're going to take it to the machine and sew down the side of the pocket and across the bottom, but do not do anything on the notched side. When that's done, you can trim back the seam allowance to reduce the bulk and turn through the corner to create a crisp point. Next, you'll use the stitching line that you previously made as a folding guide and press back the fabric along that point. Do your best to create a neat corner at the bottom and ensure the seam allowance is tucked away. Secure the facing by sewing close to the folded edge on your machine to create a visible line of top stitching. Pin the pocket in place so that the unsewn edge matches at the side seam, and then the folded over edge should match with the pattern markings you previously transferred. Once it's pinned in place, you'll sew down and around the length of the pocket with a double row of top stitching. Finish the raw edges of your skirt pieces and then match them right sides together to sew the side seams. Then sew 2 rows of gathering stitches along the upper edges of the skirt. Take your bodice right side out and open it out completely so you can see the waist edge. Then take your assembled skirt and place it on top right sides together. Match the centre back edges and hold with a pin. Then match the seam lines, ensuring that these meet neatly. Hold in place with another pin. Gathering is lots of fun. You'll find the top 2 threads from your gathering stitches on the skirt, and then holding them tightly, pull at the same speed to pull the threads and gather the fabric up. You want the skirt width to match the bodice width. Evenly distribute the gathers, ensuring that all notches are matching and everything looks even across the entire width of the skirt, and then hold in place with pins. Take over to your machine and sew the waist seam. You want the gathering stitches to be facing the feed dogs for the greatest amount of control. Then you can remove any of the gathering stitches that might be showing and finish the raw edge of the waist. Now we're going to install an invisible zipper. Unzip the zipper and take a look at the back where the coils are found. These curl around to create a neat finish for your garment. You can use your regular zipper foot, but may need to move your needle position to ensure you're sewing close to the coils. The invisible zipper foot has 2 grooves underneath that hold the coils in place as you stitch. It will force the coil open, ensuring you can stitch close to the edge. Start by marking a 1.5 seam line along the centre back of your bodice and skirt. This will help you position the zipper correctly. Open out your zipper and place it right side down on your fabric, matching the coiled edge to the line you've just marked. Make sure the top matches with the top raw edge of your bodice and then pin in place along the length. When ready, take over to the machine with your chosen foot and sew close to the coil's edge. Once you've sewn one side, you're actually going to then close the zipper. Take your tailor's chalk pencil and mark the seam position with a little line. This line is going to help you match up the seams across the zipper for both sides of the garment. Once you've made your mark, you can unzip the zipper again. On the other side of the garment, place your zipper and fabric right sides together, matching the mark you made with the waist seam and ensuring the zipper coils are 1.5 centimeters from the centre back edge. Pin just at the waist. Then take a hand sewing needle and sew a few stitches close to the coils around the waist area. This will help you check that you've got everything matching neatly and can be easily removed if you haven't. Carefully close the zipper and then you can check that the 2 seams will match when sewn in place properly. If for any reason they need a little adjustment, unpick your hand stitches and redo to make sure you get the best match possible. If you're happy, pin the remainder of the zipper in place and then take to the machine and sew as you did before. If you got nice and close to your zipper coils, then you shouldn't be able to see your zipper from the right side. Now we need to finish off the rest of the centre back seam. Arrange the skirt pieces so the raw edges match and pin together. You're going to sew the centre back seam from the hem up to the point the zipper stitching finishes. Use your zipper foot to do this, your regular zipper foot, and stop right by that point and don't worry if there's a little step in the stitching lines. Press open the seam allowance and then turn everything to the right side, and I'll show you what I mean. Here's the base of the zipper, and you can see the little step in the stitching is not at all noticeable. Now you're going to open out your bias binding. I chose to make some of my own using my Simplicity bias tape maker, and mark around the neckline 1 centimetre from the raw edge. Place the crease of your bias binding along that marked edge. Pin in place, leaving the end free where the zipper is. You can slightly bend the bias binding to curve around the shoulder seam, using lots of pins to keep it nice and flat. Do a quick check that where the zipper matches, the creased edge is a continuous line before you sew. Take over to your machine and sew along the creased edge. You can either do this by making the centre of your foot match up with the crease or using your machine plate guide. Next, press the seam allowance and bias binding upwards and understitch around the neckline a few millimetres from the edge. Looking at the wrong side, you will trim back the seam allowance above the understitching line. Then you'll fold down the first crease of the bias binding, fold the zipper tape towards you where it naturally wants to bend, and then press down the whole bias binding. This creates a narrow facing on the inside of your garment. Ensure the bias binding tail is tucked up inside and then pin in place. Once you've pinned the entire way around, you'll top stitch close to the folded edge to hold the bias tape facing in place. If you have any gap at the top of your zipper, you can also install a hook and eye so it fastens neatly. To finish, press up the hem length, then press over the raw edge by 6 mm and pin everything in place. You'll then top stitch close to the folded edge to create your skirt hem. Give everything a final press to finish.